Hey guys, and welcome to my weekly wrap-up for last week and currently reading for this upcoming week. I am posting this a day late because I was too tired to post it yesterday. I was too tired to film it and edit it, and I just fell asleep instead. So we're getting it right now. And I finished 5 books last week, so I get to add another 5 books to my little tally thing back there that you really literally can't see at all. I've had suggestions to get a chalkboard and put it right here and mark it like that, and I actually might do that at some point. But for now, we're still going to tally it up on here so at least I can see it. So I've read 8 books this year so far, and I'm about halfway through a couple more, and I plan on reading several more this week and hoping to get through them. But the very first one that I finished this past week, and I actually talked about in my weekly wrap-up last week, that I was almost done with it, but I finished it, and it is Last Year by Robert Charles Wilson. This was just released in December of last year. And I did do a full review of this. I'm going to be posting that very soon. I actually filmed it on Sunday and hope to post it within the next couple of days or so. But it's basically about this thing called the mirror. The technology for it has suddenly appeared, and it basically allows for people of our near future to go back to the past, but not necessarily our past, a past that is very much like ours, but isn't from our world. The two worlds are exactly the same, and it's hinted at that there's many different kinds of possibilities like this, many different kinds of worlds you can reach pretty much any time period that you want, and it's all exactly like our past, but it isn't exactly our past. So a city called Futurity is built in 1876 of this world, and this guy named Jesse Cullum is hired to work there. He is a native of 1876, and in the city of Futurity, people of that time period can come and kind of experience wonders of the future, and people of our near future can go back and experience what it was like to live in the past. They kind of get VIP access to New York and San Francisco and stuff like that. And it's a really interesting idea, and it's mostly about the kind of social and moral implications of a situation like that and what that kind of thing would mean. And we follow Jesse Cullum, the main character, who is a great character. I really liked following him a lot. He's just kind of a pleasure to read from the perspective of, it's not from his first person perspective. We pretty much see into his mind directly as he does things, and he kind of gets thrown into this contraband scheme of bringing things from the future into the past and handing them out to the wrong sorts of people. And he kind of gets pulled into that after saving the president's life at the very beginning of the book. It's quite a bit of fun, and I did really enjoy reading it. I feel like it kind of went off its hinges a little bit towards the end, but I definitely did really enjoy the experience of reading it, and I do highly suggest it to anyone who enjoys time travel stories in general. And I think you would have a lot of fun with this, and just character-driven and socially and morally kind of driven science fiction, as opposed to the science in this isn't really explained at all. The science of the time travel isn't really explained. It's just kind of, we're in 1876 now, and this mirror thing, it just kind of works, and you can get anywhere you want, but we just came to 1876 to make a profit, and that's kind of what this city is there for, is to make a profit off of 1876 and its people, and the people who want to go back there to experience it. So it's a fun story, and I do suggest it, and I definitely suggest, if you want to know more about it and know more about my thoughts on it, look out for that review when it is out. So then I also started, and I didn't finish this, and I'm going to talk more about it soon. I'm actually enjoying it so far. It's called Book Burners, and it's by Max Gladstone, Margaret Dunlap, Mur Lafferty, and Brian Francis Slattery. So this is a serial story where all these different authors are writing episodes within the story. So this is season 1 of Book Burners. You can access season 1 and season 2 of Book Burners on a site called serialbox.com. And I hadn't heard of it before I actually got this, but it is really fun so far. And it's interesting seeing the different little things that the different authors do in their episodes. And so I'm about halfway through this, and I'm enjoying it. I did put it aside to start reading something else. I'll get to that more in a second. But it's basically about the main character. Her name is Sal, and her brother, at the very first episode, finds a magic book that kind of has these ancient mysterious properties, mainly that it has some sort of monster hiding inside of it. And there are these people called the Book Burners that Sal runs in with, and that kind of help her deal with the situation. and then from there on she kind of joins in with them and their doings, and it's quite a bit of fun. I am going to do a full review of this one as well. It's going to be a fun thing to talk about more in the future, especially when I'm finished with it. Like I said, it's especially interesting to see the different authors write the different episodes of this and the different stories within this bigger story. So hopefully that'll be fun for you to hear more about when the time comes for me to review it. It did just come out. It was just released on the 10th of this month, so you can now go get it if you want to. So I did put book burners aside for a little bit, and I'm going back to it now, but I put it aside for a little bit in order to read this book because I wanted to read it before it came out. It actually comes out today, so I'm going to be trying to post a review of it within the next few days as well. And this is Fortress at the End of Time by Joe M. McDermott. This is a fairly short little sci-fi story. I think it's technically a novella, but it is over like 200 pages long or so. So it's kind of in between like a long novella and a short novel. But it's a sci-fi story about this situation in our future where there was this war with some sort of alien civilization, except for we didn't really know who they were, where exactly they came from, or even what they looked like. They just kind of attacked us, and now they're gone. And now we have outposts on various planets and various systems looking out for them. And it's really interesting the way they kind of populate these outposts. So people back on Earth and back in our system are training themselves to kind of be in these space military-esque positions. So our main character is actually a pilot. And so instead of going out there themselves to the different outposts, and the outpost that is featured in this one is called the Citadel, and instead of going out there themselves, they are cloned from where they are into the outpost that their clone is now going to be going to. So through this thing called the Ansible, they are basically in their whole form, cloned. Everything about them, all of their memories, all of who they are, is reformed into a clone, a new being for in this case, the Citadel. So the Citadel then receives the main character after he kind of gets cloned there. And the Citadel is seen as a very not good place to be. It's seen as one of the worst positions you can possibly get. And the original main character, his name is Ronaldo. He is even worried about it. He knows that this clone is going to be basically himself. This clone is going to be him, basically. And he worries for his clone. He worries that this position is going to be a bad thing for his clone. And so at the beginning, you kind of see him worry about that. And then we never really follow the original again. We immediately go from the original stepping into the cloning vat, into the Ansible, I guess, and then stepping out as his clone at the Citadel. And so there's no really like break in between the two. And it's a really interesting perspective to see, because the main character we follow throughout the rest of the thing is a clone, but he still is that character. He still is that person. So, and he's not necessarily great of a guy. He's kind of a normal guy, kind of leaning towards the self-centered and self-satisfying end of the spectrum, where he's kind of a little bit of a dick. He's just kind of who he is. And you know right from the beginning that this book is going to be a tragedy, that the story is going to be a tragedy. And it's very slow burning, very slow going. He's committed some sort of crime that he just won't tell us about. This is being written from his first person perspective, as if he's writing it too. He keeps calling us, the reader, his confessor. So he's confessing this story to us, confessing his sins to us, and confessing his crime to us. And you kind of learn more and more where it's going as it goes along. So it's quite interesting, and I'm looking forward to talking about it more. So then another thing that I talked about last week that I was in the middle of and about to finish was an audiobook called Sephiroth's Hand by Melissa McPhail, and I would really love to do a full review of this one as well. I know I keep saying that. I promise these reviews are coming. I'm working on them. I've spent a lot of my time working on them, but I just haven't necessarily put them up yet because I'm a silly perfectionist in that way. But this book is a lot of fun. This is an epic fantasy with great world building, great magic system, really interesting characters, a great history, and just I feel like if you like stuff by Brandon Sanderson, Robert Jordan, if you like that book I just recently reviewed back in November, The Shadow of What Was Lost by James Islington, this is a very good kind of contemporary to that. Just any sort of wide-spreading, many threads, many different characters, kind of epic fantasy with great world building and great characters. If you like that kind of thing, I think you would like this. Basically, in this, everything in the world is made of patterns, and a special kind of person can see the patterns and affect them in many different ways. They can be affected and used in many different ways to heal, to kill, to do just a lot of different things. And that part of it's really interesting. I feel like there's a lot more to be explored there. The magic system hasn't been entirely explained yet, and I feel like there's a lot more there to learn about. It's basically about this one race called the Adepts, who were very adept at using the patterns, for lack of a better explanation, and they're kind of dying out. And there's this one that's kind of really powerful, but he's kind of like the villain behind the whole story. He's kind of like the bad guy, just kind of lying beneath all of the different threads and all the different storylines that are going on, but you never know exactly what his motives are, what exactly he wants, and you never know who's working with him, who's not working with him, who's on whose side. There's a lot of different characters, and you never know when they're going to meet up, when they're going to have their different paths cross. So we follow this one prince. His two other brothers are dead, so he's the next in line for the throne. And right in the beginning of the book, there's an assassination attempt against him. Someone he loves very dearly is murdered, and he is kidnapped. And there's these different kinds of races involved, shades, and there's just so much cool stuff happening with all these different creatures and races. And there's a character called Trell of the Tides, who is this very mysterious guy. He doesn't know who he is, and sometimes that bothers me, that kind of thing where the characters know who he is, so he has to find out who he is, and he can be a little bit annoying at times, but overall I really enjoyed his story. He meets a ton of different people, especially. You get to see a ton of different places and things and peoples from his perspective. There are these things called truth tellers, and they can see when someone's telling the truth. They have a very hard time telling lies themselves. They're used in very specific situations and kind of raised and taught to be used in very specific situations. And just there's so much to talk about with this book. It's really hard to wrap it up really quickly for you right now. Basically, I really enjoyed it. It's not perfect. I feel like the next books are going to improve on it immensely. There's 3 other books in the series out so far, I believe, and I'm not sure how long the series is going to be in general, but I'm really excited to talk about this more. This is something that I feel like I need to devote a whole video to talk about, because there's just so much stuff going on, and I don't feel like I can adequately explain it here. And then I also finished the second book in the Partials series by Dan Wells. This is called Fragments, and I really enjoyed the first book, and I really enjoyed this one too. I feel like, just like with other kind of trilogies like this one does suffer a bit from the kind of like second book syndrome, where it's not quite as exciting as the first one, and I don't believe it'll be as exciting as the third one will probably be. But it does have some fascinating stuff added into the story, especially towards the end. There's some new revelations that come to light. You really get to know the characters more in this one. It's definitely more of a adventuring, like a road trip kind of book, where you get to see the characters in many different kinds of places and follow them as they go along and learn about them more. And I find this to be just a really fun post-apocalyptic story. I've kind of seen it labeled as YA, and I guess I can kind of see that because a lot of the characters are very young. Like the main character is only 16. But I feel like a lot of people would really enjoy this if they gave it a shot. I feel like it does not too overly heavily on any of the romance aspects, even though there is some in there. And I feel like the main character is really likable and interesting. There's a lot of really cool ideas in there. I feel like Dan Wells just put a lot of thought into the way this all works, and into the way this story works, and into the way this world has developed over time. Basically, it's about the humans develop these things called the partials, and they're basically like humans, but I guess they're artificial technically, but they really do seem like real people, except that they're more powerful. They can all connect to this thing called the link, where they don't really express their emotions physically with their faces and any of that stuff, or with their voices. They kind of express emotions through this link. And we kind of, in the first book, see how there's this partial war where most of the humans were just kind of obliterated, and many of the humans blame the partials for this, and it seems rightly so, because there's a thing called RM that the partials release. The RM is what killed most of the people and is what is still killing them, and they just can't seem to have healthy children anymore. There's this thing called the Hope Act enacted in the first book, where women must get pregnant. They're obligated to get pregnant at a certain age to keep trying to have more kids, to see if they can try to find a cure for RM. And it's kind of brutal and really disquieting a lot of the time. And I feel like it's just a really good story, and I really enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward to continuing on with it. And I also finished another one that I really want to do a full review on. This is called A Warrior's Path by Davis Ashura. I just finished this today, and I really enjoyed it a lot. It was a bit slow going at first, but by the end I was super hooked, and I can't wait to continue on with it, and I can't wait to talk more about it to you. It's another one of those books like Sephiroth's Hand, where there's a bit too much going on to really explain it to you right now in an adequate way, so I want to do a full video on it. But basically, it's about this world where this world is called Orissa, and there was the first mother and the first father, and then this demon came, and her name is Swareth, and she got rid of the first mother and first father and started creating these things called the chimeras. And there's many different kinds of breeds of chimeras. They're all very evil, all kind of dumb, but very evil, and seek out to destroy humanity. And Swareth really seeks out to destroy humanity in all its forms. And we follow this one main city of humans, and they have this caste system. This series is called Caste and Outcasts, and there's seven different castes in this caste system, and they all have a different role in society and a different talent, all having to do with this thing called Jivakama, which they all kind of draw in from. It's their like sort of magic well. It's like what they perceive to be their soul. It's what they draw from in order to do their different talents, their different magics. They're very strict in keeping the different castes separate. People from castes can't marry someone from another caste. It's just forbidden, completely and totally forbidden. And if you do that and you have a child from it, both you and your child will be labeled Greenas and exiled from the city, which is basically akin to being exiled to death. They're not expected to survive that at all. And it's a very brutal society, but it's also one that has sort of thrived because of how strict and brutal they are. The magic system is really interesting, and we follow this character. He is part of a house that has just kind of come into power. It's a very young house within the caste system, and they're a part of the warrior caste, and he himself is a warrior. He's a very adept at the sword and sword fighting in general, and he is sent off for his first trial. So a trial, there's always a war going on with the chimeras. It's a never-ending war with Swareth and the chimeras. And so they all go out on trials, which is basically like a tour of duty in the military, and go out and have battles and just kind of fight and survive out in the wilderness. And there's just some great dynamics going on with this. There's so much double crossing and different threads of intrigue going on here. It's fascinating, really. There's a lot of different perspectives on how the world has gotten to where it is, and how to move forward in the future. And everyone seems to be against everybody. Humanity has pitted itself against itself. Humanity has pitted itself against the chimeras and against Swareth. And so much is going on that everyone just kind of hates each other, but there's so much going on behind the scenes that no one seems to be privy to. And it's really fascinating to watch all these different things come to light for all these different characters. And like I said, I'm definitely going to be talking about this more in the future, but I really enjoyed it a lot. I very highly suggest it for anyone that is into epic fantasy. This and Sephiroth's Hand were both narrated by Nick Podell, who is fantastic. But if you don't like audiobooks, I keep forgetting to mention this. All these books that I keep talking about on audiobook that I've been listening to, these epic fantasies, they can be read physically in ebook as well. So go look on Amazon or wherever you want to look for those, because they're fantastic. And if you like epic fantasy, I very highly suggest giving these a shot. There's some really great stuff out there like this that I've just been coming across that I can't wait to talk more about. And I'm really excited to continue on with this series. I think it's a trilogy. And the second book, I'm definitely going to be listening to it next month. So you'll hear me talk about it more and more, and probably sing its praises more and more, because I can only see it going up from here. Okay, so this week, real quick, I've already talked for quite a bit, so I'm going to just kind of go through these. I would like to finish the Partials trilogy with Ruins by Dan Wells. I have started this already and getting into it. I'm really excited to see where this goes and how he ends it. I checked out both Fragments and Ruins at the same time from Overdrive, and they're both about to be due. So I'm going to try to finish Ruins before it's due in the next couple days, and then do it basically at the same time is a book that I checked out kind of on a whim. It's called Bloodline by Claudia Gray, and it's a Star Wars book. I've never read a Star Wars book before, but I want to give them a shot. I want to see if I like them. And I found this at the library on Overdrive, and I'm going to give it a shot and see if I like it. And we'll see. And then after that, if I have time for more audiobooks this week, I will be starting the next Dresden Files book, which is Death Mass. And after that, if I can't finish that, I will very likely finish that one. I think that one's a shorter one. I would almost definitely be able to start Blood Rights, which is the next Dresden Files book after that. So I would like to kind of try to read at least 2 Dresden Files books a month, and I'm just kind of in the mood for them, so I think I'm going to try to listen to both of them this week, or at least get through one and start the other one this week. And of course, I'll be finishing Book Burners first thing. I'm hoping to finish that soon. And then as soon as that one's done, I'm going to be diving into the next Malice and Book of the Fallen series book. This is Dead House Gates by Stephen Erickson. I'm really excited to finally be continuing on with the series. I read Gardens of the Moon, the first book, way too long ago, and I remember everything that happened in it, I'm pretty sure, but I'm going to be kind of jogging my memory. Paul from Common Touch of Fantasy just finished this series, and he's a great booktuber, by the way. If you don't follow him and you like SFF, I'm not sure what you're doing with yourself, but he's one of the best SFF booktubers on BookTube easily. I love hearing him talk about all the books that he's read, and he just finished this series, and he gave me a link to this Goodreads group that read all of these and kind of went into lengthy discussions about them. So I'm going to kind of be refreshing my memory on the first one with those, and then continuing on with this one this week. So I'll talk more about all those in my next weekly wrap up. I think that's it for today. If you guys have read any of these things that I've talked about, I would love to hear your opinions on them. If I've gotten you interested in any of them, I would love to hear about that as well. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you later with more.